This is the strategic blueprint for one of the most powerful tech giants on the planet. We're going to cut right through all that corporate jargon and unpack the super dense agenda into 4 clear, really fascinating pillars. By the end of our time today, you're going to know exactly where Samsung is heading in 2026.
All right, let's jump straight into part 1, the 2025 financial rebound.
So, if you've been following the global tech sector at all, you know it's been a pretty wild ride lately. But for Samsung, 2025 was the year their financial engine absolutely roared back to life. Just take a look at this number, 43.6 trillion Korean won. That is Samsung's massive operating profit for the year. And I really want to emphasize the sheer scale of this figure. We aren't just talking about a good quarter here. We're looking at a colossal demonstration of fiscal health from a true global heavyweight.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how big of a leap that was. Revenue jumped over 10%, from 309 trillion up to 333.6 trillion. But the real story? That operating profit. A massive 33.2% year-over-year increase. I mean, that is just a stunning acceleration in profitability.
So, you're probably wondering what fueled this incredible surge. Well, the data points directly to one primary driver, and that's the memory business. Improved market conditions in the semiconductor space meant their Device Solutions, or DS division, went into absolute overdrive. DS revenue reached a staggering 130.1 trillion KRW, and its operating profit swung wildly upward to 24.9 trillion. Essentially, the memory chip market heated up big time, and Samsung captured a massive wave of that value.
Which brings us nicely to part 2, unpacking shareholder returns. Because, let's be honest, when a company announces a 43.6 trillion won profit, investors inevitably ask, okay, what's in it for me? So let's look at how Samsung is distributing that wealth. First up, we have 9.8 trillion KRW. This is the regular annual dividend being distributed right back to investors for the 2025 fiscal year. It's a massive, super reliable payout that really forms the bedrock of their shareholder return policy. But the momentum doesn't stop there, because Samsung didn't just stick to the regular dividend. They're actually paying out an additional dividend of 1.3 trillion KRW. Think of this as the sweet bonus on top of the regular payout, completely fueled by the excellent free cash flow generated during that massive 2025 rebound we were just talking about.
And here's the final, really heavy-hitting punch. A 10 trillion KRW share repurchase program that was approved back in late 2024. Now, by buying back and canceling these shares, Samsung is effectively reducing the total number of slices in the pie. So if you're an existing shareholder, your slice just got inherently more valuable. In fact, they already completely canceled 3 trillion won worth of these shares by February 2026.
You know, investors absolutely love predictability. And Samsung actually committed to returning 50% of their free cash flow over a 3-year period from 2024 to 2026. They've maintained that steady 9.8 trillion regular dividend right through, which really proves they're delivering on those big promises to their shareholders.
All right, shifting gears to part 3, modernizing corporate governance.
So we're pivoting from how Samsung manages its money to how it manages its power. As part of this AGM, Samsung is making some significant amendments to its articles of incorporation to bring its rulebook fully into the modern digital age. Now, the agenda contains some pretty dense legal text regarding the Commercial Act, but we can break it down into the 3 really easy-to-digest steps. First, they're deleting certain provisions to implement what's called cumulative voting. Second, they're legally allowing for electronic general meetings. And third, they are increasing the minimum number of audit committee members who have to be elected entirely separately from other directors, bumping that from 1 up to 2. Honestly, this whole section is all about increasing transparency and access.
So the crucial point here is really this first item, cumulative voting. Let's translate that. In plain English, instead of spreading your votes across multiple board seats, cumulative voting lets you stack all your votes onto one specific director candidate. It's actually a massive structural change because it gives everyday minority investors a much louder voice to ensure at least one independent director they support actually gets a seat at the table.
And that leads us perfectly into part 4, future leadership and remuneration.
With all these new governance rules in place, who exactly are the captains tasked with steering this massive ship into 2026? Well, to understand the new appointments, we first have to look at the current board. Right now, it's largely composed of males, predominantly in the 50 to 65 plus age brackets. Seeing this really helps us understand why Samsung is bringing in specific new personnel right now to add some diverse expertise.
And here are the two key new nominees stepping into the spotlight. First up, Yong-Kwan Kim is being nominated as an executive director. He brings some deep expertise in stakeholder relations and external partnerships, specifically for that vital device solutions division. Second, we have Dr. Eun-Young Ho, who's nominated as an independent director for the Audit Committee. He's an energy economist with a PhD from Penn State, so he's bringing a highly specialized, really analytical eye to the board.
I actually want to give voice to the new leadership directly here. In a statement to the board, Dr. Heo explicitly noted his background as an energy economist, stating his intent to focus on, and I quote, supply chain stabilization, climate change response strategies, and technology leadership initiatives. This is huge because it shows Samsung isn't just looking at the balance sheet anymore. They're actively arming the board with the academic and practical expertise needed to tackle global sustainability and energy challenges head-on.
Finally, let's look at how they're paying this newly modernized board. The total remuneration limit proposed for FY 2026 is 45 billion KRW. Now, what you really should take away from this is the split. General compensation is actually staying completely flat at 26 billion, mostly due to macroeconomic uncertainties. But look at the long-term incentive, or LTI. It is nearly doubled from 10 billion up to 19 billion KRW. They are purposefully tying a much larger chunk of director payouts to the long-term, multi-year success of the company. Basically, if the company wins over time, the board wins. Which brings us to the ultimate question. We've seen the incredible 33% profit surge driven by the memory business, we've seen the billions being returned to shareholders, and we've unpacked the modernized rules that empower minority voices, alongside a reshaped board focused on long-term incentives and sustainability. So, with all these pieces finally on the board, is Samsung ready to navigate the inevitable macroeconomic uncertainties of 2026? It's definitely going to be fascinating to watch this unfold.